Everything we thought we knew about Stranger Things might collapse in Volume 2. Because if the clues are right, the final chapters won't just end the story, they'll completely rewrite it. The danger is bigger than Vecna. The world is closer to breaking than anyone realizes. And the characters we love are standing at the edge of a disaster that began long before Hawkins ever heard the word upside down. Volume 2 begins in a world that looks familiar on the surface, but underneath everything is wrong. Hawkins is no longer a small town fighting a hidden threat now. The threat has burst into the daylight. The cracks that Vecna opened are spreading, slowly at first, but growing stronger every hour. Roads twist into broken lines. Houses lean under invisible pressure. And the sky holds that constant dark red glow that warns everyone. The upside down is no longer a secret. It is merging with our world, and no one knows how to stop it. The government is scrambling. They pretend to be in control, but soldiers and scientists are terrified. They've never seen anything like this. They keep telling people to stay calm, but evacuation buses are overflowing. People are fleeing Hawkins, and rumors are spreading that the entire town will be sealed off. But the truth is, sealing Hawkins won't help anymore. The darkness is not trapped inside Hawkins. It is growing outwards, reaching further with every hour. And every time it spreads, it pulses with a strange energy, almost like a heartbeat. 11 feels that heartbeat more than anyone. Ever since the last battle with Vecna, her powers haven't worked the same. She still has strength, but there's something inside her that resists, a strange echo she can't explain. She tries to push through it, but her mind feels crowded, as if something is watching her from the inside. She knows Vecna is still alive. Not fully, not in the form she fought, but in peace, is scattered through the cracks of the upside down and rebuilding himself slowly. Every time she tries to sense him, she feels a cold pull, like the upside down is tugging at her own memories. Meanwhile, Mike, Will, Dustin, Lucas, and the rest of the group are trying to plan their next move. They know they can't just wait for Eleven's powers to return. They have to find Vecna first, or he will strike again. But something strange is happening to Will. His connection to the Mind Flayer is waking up again, stronger and more painful than before. He tries to hide it from the others, but every time the cracks expand, Will feels it like a shock through his spine. He doesn't want to be a burden, but he can't stop the visions. He sees shapes in the air, shadows moving in the corners, and flashes of a world where everything is covered in vines and ash. He knows these aren't dreams. They're warnings. Hopper and Joyce return to Hawkins just in time to see what it has become. The fear on Joyce's face says everything, and Hopper knows they are running out of time. He tries to stay strong for 11 and the rest of the kids, but deep down, he feels the truth. This is the biggest fight they have ever faced, and it may be the last. The world is falling apart, not in days, but in hours. And the strangest part? The upside down isn't attacking like a monster this time. It feels more like it's awakening, as if this is the shape the world was always meant to become. As if Vecna didn't just break into our world, he broke something inside the world itself. And that is where Volume 2 begins, with a town collapsing, characters divided, and the feeling that every choice from this moment forward will decide not just who survives, but whether the world has any future left at all. Everything in Hawkins feels like it's moving toward one point, almost like the entire town is being pulled by an invisible thread. And at the center of that pull is Vecna. Even though he was defeated, he is not gone. Vecna has always been patient. He has always adapted. And now, in the cracks between worlds, he is rebuilding himself piece by piece. The strange red lightning that flashes through the sky, that's him gathering strength. The vines that move like they're breathing, that's his influence expanding. And the cold fear spreading through the air, that's the first sign that Vecna is preparing for the final confrontation. 11 feels it the most. Every time she closes her eyes, she sees those broken pieces of Vecna trying to pull themselves together. She sees the twisted memories he shows her, trying to weaken her mind by forcing her to relive the most painful moments of her life. But something is different this time. Vecna isn't just attacking her from the outside, he is trying to reach into her mind. the same way he once reached into Henry Creel's. He wants to plant fear there. He wants her to doubt herself. Because Vecna knows one thing. He cannot beat 11's power unless he breaks her spirit first. And little by little, that plan is working. Mike tries to stay close to 11, encouraging her even when she barely speaks. He knows she is fighting a silent war inside her head. But he also knows there's nothing he can do except be there. And that helplessness eats at him. Meanwhile, Will's connection to Vecna becomes clearer. The closer Vecna gets to regaining his full form, the more Will feels it. Sometimes it's a burning pain in his neck. Sometimes it's a whisper in his mind. Sometimes it's a vision so real he forgets where he is. One night he sees it, Vecna rising again, fully restored. Standing in a place that looks like the center of the Upside Down, surrounded by swirling shadows. Will knows he didn't imagine it. It was a message. Dustin, always the strategist, begins mapping the pattern of the spreading cracks. He notices something strange there forming a shape. At first it looks random. But then Dustin realizes the truth. All the cracks point toward the same location. The Creel house, the heart of Vecna's power. The place where Henry's story began and where Vecna wants to end the world. When Dustin explains it to the group, the room goes silent. They all knew they'd have to go back there eventually. But now they realize this isn't just another mission. This is the battleground for the end. Hopper prepares the weapons they have left. But he knows guns won't decide this fight. This isn't a war of bullets or strength. It's a war of minds, memories, and power. Joyce tries to comfort him, reminding him that they have faced impossible odds before. But Hopper can't shake the feeling that someone won't make it out this time. The fear in his eyes isn't for himself. It's for the kids he has come to see as his own. As the group gathers for their plan. The ground shakes. Not lightly, but with a violent force that throws dust from the ceiling and knocks pictures off the walls. The cracks surge outward like veins bursting from the earth. And from deep inside the distance comes a sound low, echoing and filled with rage. It's not a monster's roar. It's more like a warning. Vecna is awake. 11 steadies herself. She feels the pressure in her chest as if the air itself has turned heavy. But instead of collapsing, she takes a breath. A long, deep breath that seems to silence everything. And in that moment, she understands something. Vecna is not coming for them. He's waiting for them. He wants them at the Creel house. He wants the final battle to happen on his ground. Because he believes he already knows the ending. But what Vecna doesn't know is that 11 is not the only weapon Hawkins has this time. Will is changing. His connection to Vecna might be the one thing that turns the tide. And as the group prepares to face the darkness, Will feels something new, not fear, but purpose. For the first time, he understands that he and Vecna are tied together in a way no one else is. And that connection might be the key to ending everything. Or losing everything. Volume 2 is now moving toward one final moment. And the battle with Vecna has officially begun. As the group prepares to face Vecna, something unexpected begins happening across Hawkins. The air becomes heavier, the sky grows darker. Then the temperature drops so suddenly that every window in town fogs over at the same time. People think it's another effect of the Upside Down leaking through. But this time, it's different. This isn't Vecna's doing. It's something older, deeper, and far more powerful. The truth becomes clearer when Will suddenly collapses, gripping his chest as if something has reached inside him. In that moment, he sees it, the real enemy hidden behind everything they've been fighting since the very beginning. The Mind Flayer, Will, has seen the shadow creature many times before. But what he sees now is not the version that spread across Hawkins in earlier seasons. It's not the smoke-like form that possessed him or tore through. What he sees is a form that feels complete. Almost awake. Like the creature has been waiting for the right moment to reveal its true self. Vecna may have shaped its body, but the Mind Flayer is something far older than Henry Creel. And now, for the first time, Will understands that the Mind Flayer was never just a monster. It was a force of intelligence, anger, and purpose long before anyone stepped into the Upside Down. 11 senses Will's fear and rushes to his side, demanding to know what he saw. Will struggles to describe it. He talks about a shape made of shadows, but not like smoke. It's more like a living storm, with tendrils twisting into a giant structure that feels both alive and mechanical. And at the center of it, there is an intelligence watching him. Not Vecna, something beyond him. Something that feels endless. 11 realizes this is not just another threat. It is the origin of everything the Upside Down has become. For years, everyone believed Vecna was the true mastermind, the architect of the Upside Down's horrors. But now the truth becomes clearer. Vecna didn't create the Mind Flayer. He discovered a tan ancient force that existed long before him. And when Henry shaped the swirling dust into the monstrous spider-like creature, he didn't gain control of it. He woke it up. He gave it form. He gave it a purpose. And ever since that moment, the Mind Flayer has been quietly influencing everything, using Vecna to prepare the world for its arrival. This revelation shakes the entire group. If Vecna is just one part of the threat, then defeating him won't stop the Upside Down. They're fighting a war on two fronts, against a human monster with a vendetta and a primordial entity that seeks complete domination. Dustin realizes the cracks spreading across Hawkins are not just openings. They're building a shape, like a massive pattern drawn across the town. A net, a trap. And the purpose of that trap is simple. Once the cracks connect perfectly, the Mind Flayer will cross into the real world fully, not as a cloud of particles, but as the towering creature Will saw in his vision. Hopper tries to stay rational, insisting they focus on Vecna first, but even he can't deny the shift in the air. The Mind Flayer's presence feels wrong in a way nothing else has. It feels like gravity itself is pulling people toward fear. Joyce feels it too, a pressure in her mind that makes her remember every painful moment she's lived through. And that's when they all understand the Mind Flayer doesn't attack bodies. It attacks minds. It breaks people from the inside, turning their thoughts into weapons against themselves. 11 realizes she must confront this truth sooner than she expected. She closes her eyes and tries to reach into the shadows around her, hoping to sense Vecna again. Instead, she finds something else. A vast emptiness. A cold intelligence that feels aware of her. It doesn't speak, but she feels its message. You opened the door. Now you must face what comes through it. 11 pulls away, shaking, unable to explain the depth of what she felt. For the first time, she realizes her powers may not be enough, not against this. Will, however, senses something different. Instead of pure fear, he feels a faint connection, the same one that tied him to the Mind Flayer years ago. But now he feels he can resist it, control it, maybe even understand it. His connection, once a curse, might be the only advantage they have. The others don't like the idea, but Will knows this is his role. He must face the creature that haunted him for years, not as a victim, but as someone who can challenge it as they piece together the truth. The ground trembles again more violently than before. The cracks surge outward, glowing with a deep red light. The sky above stretches open like the surface of a storm. And from that swirling darkness, a shape begins to form. Massive, silent, ancient. It doesn't fully cross over yet, but it's close. Too close. Vecna is returning for revenge. But the Mind Flayer, it's arriving to conquer Dot as Hawkins falls deeper into chaos. One truth becomes impossible to ignore. This story cannot end without sacrifice. The group may be stronger together, but the enemies they face are beyond anything they've fought before. Vecna is rebuilding. The Mind Flayer is awakening. And the cracks tearing through the town feel like a countdown, urging everyone toward one final confrontation. For the first time, the group begins to accept that surviving the final battle may not be possible for all of them. Someone will have to pay a price. Someone will not return. Hopper senses this before anyone else. He has spent his whole life trying to protect the people he loves. And the thought of losing any of the kids, especially 11, breaks something inside him. But he also knows that if a choice must be made, he will make it without hesitation. He has died before, or at least come close, and he knows what it means to face the unthinkable. This time, though, the danger feels different. It feels final. Hopper quietly prepares himself for the idea that he may have to put his life on the line for real, without any miracle to save him afterward. But he hides this from Joyce, because he knows she would never accept losing him again. Steve Harrington also feels the weight of the approaching battle. He's faced monsters before, but lately his life has been filled with a strange sense of unfinished business. He has dreams he never fulfilled, confessions he never voiced, and a quiet hope for a future he may never get. He doesn't say it out loud, but his friends sense it, especially Dustin, who watches Steve with worried eyes. Steve has become a protector, someone who stands in front of danger without thinking twice. And that kind of person often ends up paying the highest price. Still, Steve refuses to step back. He believes that kids deserve to grow up in a world free of monsters. And if that means he doesn't get the same chance, he's willing to accept it. Then there's Max, even though she lies in a fragile state between life and death. Her presence still lingers like a quiet heartbeat within the group. Lucas visits her often, hoping she'll wake up, hoping she'll return to them. But the truth is heavy. Max's survival is already a miracle, and her mind remains vulnerable to Vecna's influence. Some believe that if she wakes up, she could become a target again, or worse, she could be used as a weapon. Others believe she might rise stronger than before, but no one knows for sure. Max's fate feels like a coin spinning in the air, and whichever way it lands could shape the final fight. But the character most deeply connected to sacrifice is Will Byers. Since the first season, Will has been tied to the Upside Down in ways no one else has. He's survived possession, visions, and a connection to the Mind Flayer that still burns in the back of his mind. And now, as the darkness spreads, that connection is waking up again. Will senses more than danger, he senses destiny. He realizes something the others are too afraid to say out loud. The Upside Down wants him, not to destroy him, but to use him. To pull him into its core, to draw power from the bond they share. Will fears that when the final confrontation comes, he may be the only one who can step between the Mind Flayer and the real world. And stepping between them might mean he doesn't return. Mike refuses to consider this. The idea of losing Will terrifies him in ways he doesn't fully understand. But Will, quietly and without drama, begins to accept the possibility. All his life he has been saved by friends, by family, by 11. Maybe now it's his turn to save them. He doesn't want to die. He doesn't want to leave anyone behind. But if the Mind Flayer targets him, or if his connection becomes the key to shutting the gate forever, he knows what he must do. And deep down, 11 senses the same truth. She sees the fear behind Will's eyes, the resolve, the silent strength that has always made him different. The group begins discussing strategies, but there's an unspoken layer beneath every conversation. Everyone is preparing emotionally for loss, even if they won't admit it. Dustin grows quieter than usual. Robin becomes more serious. Lucas holds Max's hand more tightly. Nancy checks her weapons repeatedly, trying to distract herself from worrying about Steve. Joyce watches Hopper with fearful eyes. It's as if she's memorizing every moment. And 11, for the first time, feels the weight of being the most powerful person in the group. She wonders whether the final sacrifice might be hers. If her powers are the cause of this war, maybe giving them up, or giving herself up, could end it. The tension builds across Hawkins like a storm ready to break. The characters all feel it's a sense that time is running out, that the final battle will not just test their strength, but their loyalty, their courage, and the deepest parts of their hearts. The question is no longer if they will lose someone. It's who fate will choose. And the most haunting part is this. Every sacrifice in Stranger Things has come with a purpose. But in the endgame, the purpose of the final sacrifice might be bigger than saving Hawkins alone. It might be the only way to close the Upside Down forever, even if it means closing the door on someone they love.